Hey guys, thanks for so much for joining me on this presentation today. Um, really super excited to talk to you about something that has really helped me to not only transform my specialist practice, but many others. And we're going to get into all the details today and some of the people that we've helped as well, because I think this is just a fantastic opportunity because as you know, the specialist practice now is changing so much. So again, I want to personally thank you for attending this webinar today. And if you could, in order for us to make this environment the best possible for learning, if you could switch off your phone, maybe shut down your email, anything else you have running in the background, because I have a ton of information to cover with you today, and it's really going to help both of us if we stay focused on exactly the material that we're presenting now. Okay, so on today's webinar, I'm going to discuss the exact system that's really helped me tremendously increase my case acceptance. So I'm going to give you the exact system that I use in my practice today in very great detail. We'll get into why I'm doing all of this in just a minute. So hopefully by now you've printed out your handout and you have it ready with you to follow along. I've planned for this to be the most valuable webinar you've ever attended. I think it will be if you simply take what I'm going to be teaching you today and really seek to apply it to your specialist practice. So here's what we're going to cover today. The three biggest income killers in your specialist practice right now and how to fix them once and for all. Now, I realize that's quite a big promise, but I wouldn't be here today unless I could deliver on it. I'm also going to show you proof because I've not only done it for myself, but I've done it for many other specialists as well. I'm going to reveal the real reason patients make appointments and either don't show up or they cancel with you. It's almost assuredly not what you think. Otherwise, you'd have solved the problem a long time ago, right? Look, if you could only crack just this one problem alone, it'd make such a huge difference in your practice now, wouldn't it? Think of it. No extra costly advertising to do. Not having to worry about if you've been increasing your fees enough annually. No extra insurance plans need to be accepted. All you do is increase the number of patients who actually show up to your practice every single day. Play that out over the year, and you've got a huge increase right there. And as if that wasn't enough, I'm also going to reveal why your patients don't accept your best recommendation of care and how to fix it without any tricks, without any high pressure, or becoming a gimmicky sounding salesman. Because at the end of the day, you still want to feel good about yourself and you want your patients to trust you and feel comfortable and even safe around you. So we're going to toss out any trickery or gimmicky stuff right out the window. Now, I know you wouldn't do that in the first place, but I just wanted to make sure you could listen today without having to worry that I was going to be recommending that you do some of these things. Okay, so couple this solution with the potential increase in your patients showing up for their first visit, and you've got some life-changing boost in your income. But first, who in the heck am I? And why should you listen to me? Long story short, my name is Jeff Anzalone, and I'm a private practicing periodontist in Monroe, Louisiana, which some of you may or may not have heard of Monroe, Louisiana. We're the home of the hit reality show, Duck Dynasty. I'm also a marketer and coach to other dental specialists and dentists. Long story short, I got screwed out of a job right out of my residency. I was supposed to join a group practice. It fell through, thus leaving myself with a 2 month old. Between my wife and I, we had close to $200,000 in student loan debt. Did not have a clue on how to start a practice, how to run a practice, how to hire staff, how to do anything. No patience, no job whatsoever. So, long story short, I started up my practice, started building it slowly but surely, and started doing some external marketing, started learning about marketing, going to some marketing seminars, reading all kinds of books. And slowly but surely, I really fell in love with that part of my practice. One of the instrumental people in my life, my mentor, marketing mentor, Mr. Dan Kennedy. If you want to learn a little bit more about him, you can see what all the other small business owners and entrepreneurs that he's helping at gkic.com. Each year, GKIC, the Glazer Kennedy Insider Circle, have an annual what they call Marketing Super Conference. So a few years ago, I was among the hundreds of people that submitted materials. Luckily I was accepted as one of the 4 finalists of Market of the Year, and that experience of sharing my story with over 900 attendees at the Super Conference was fantastic. I loved it. So that's a little bit about me, where I've come from, why I want to do and why I do the things that I do. Now, a lot of people have various ideas about success, so I'm going to give you my own personal definition of it. Sure, it involves having a great income, but more importantly for me, it means that I have free time with my family without worry, without stress, or having to think about the office all the time. I have 2 young boys, Brooks and Benton, and my beautiful wife, Rebecca. This is my heart and soul. This is the pride of my life. My wife, Rebecca, she's my best friend. We've been married now for close to 15 years, and she's also the practice hygienist. And I can't tell you how great it is to be able to spend tons and tons of time with these guys. Because I know if you have kids out there, you have grandkids, you know how fast these guys grow up. I mean, it's like the blink of an eye. So I love spending a lot of time with them. But not only that, we can do pretty much anything we want to do because of the generous income I generate from my practice. Each year, for the past several years, we've taken an annual trip to Disney. If you've heard any of things that I've taught in the past or have come across any of the writings that I've done, you know that I'm a huge Disney fan. I've probably learned more from Disney about my practice probably than any other business out there, from customer service to hiring to training to marketing to follow up, you name it. So that's another reason that I love going to Disney. Middle picture there, my boys and I going, we're skiing. We go skiing every year. They love to ski, and of course we take our beach trip a couple of times a year as well. So I want you to take a moment to think about what your definition of success would be. This is extremely important to nail down, because if you don't have it in your mind while you're implementing what I'm going to teach you here today, you might just box yourself into a lifestyle you don't really care for. More money? Now, I'm sure that's on the list. it's very, very difficult to have an exciting and an impactful life without lots of money coming in, right? I mean, if you want to help a lot of people, or if you want to um, help the poor, you want to do mission work, or you want to do things like that, you're going to need some money. Your definition of success, a thriving practice. You look forward to going to every day. Something else, more free time. Now, it's a balancing act between all of these things. So you have to get a little creative about them because you can have it all. It just takes some planning, hard work, and creativity to get it all lined up. Okay, so in the workbook that I've provided for you today, I want you to jot down your personal definition of success. How will you know that you're going to be successful? It's very important to get this down now. So I'll give you a minute or two, to get it written down. I want you to have it there in front of you and keep referring to it as you go along. Maybe write down some big goals that you have over the next, say, 12 to 24 months. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds just to jot some of those down. All right. So by the way, while I consider myself fairly successful, I'm always striving for another level of success, or to improve some area or protect some area of success. It's not something you get and then that's it. It's actually gotten more fun for me to keep adding to it in multiple different ways. My high school coach, it's pretty easy name to remember, Charlie Brown. He's since passed, but he came up with a saying now that actually when they did a bunch of renovations to the football stadium, they built this huge brick archway that all the players, whenever they leave the locker room, they go before they go onto the field, they go under this brick archway, and on that archway, etched in stone, it's etched in slate, is one of his most famous sayings that actually I live by every single day, and that is this: be proud, but never satisfied. Be proud, but never satisfied. Always be proud of all the things that you're accomplishing, whether it's your social life or your private life or your practice or whatever. But you should never be satisfied. You should always be striving to get better and better and better. Okay, got it? So let's keep moving on. So, why should you listen to me? Well, I just showed you and discussed with you a little bit about my success, and now I'm going to reveal the exact system that's helped me achieve it. But you should also know that it's not just me. Now, I've helped other specialists as well. And the system that I created has actually been used in many others in all sorts of industries and businesses because it's based on how people think and react when faced with making decisions. Now, I'll get into that a little bit more a little bit later. So this is a friend of mine, Dr. Ron Chung, and he is a fantastic oral surgeon and a pretty brilliant marketer as well, practicing in Orlando and Claremont. He actually has two offices, which is Claremont is just outside of the Orlando area. And him and I actually trained at LSU together. We've spoken and we continue to speak several times throughout the year. Typically whenever we go out to Orlando for our annual Disney trip, usually I meet up with Ron and his beautiful wife as well and their kids. And every time we get together, we always talk shop. We always talk marketing, what each of us are doing. And to be honest with you, I was always striving for him to do something that's really helped me in my practice, and that's become an author. And I kept on him, and finally, the last time we got together, he said, "I got something I want to show you." I said, "What?" And he pulled it out, and he'd come up and written a book about wisdom teeth and wisdom teeth removal. Very excited about it, and we talked about different ways that he could use it to leverage it in his practice. So um, he was one of the first people that I actually helped. He was a friend of mine, but what I've seen him do and some of the ideas that I've given him, and he's just taken it, above and beyond, uh, what I had originally had for him. So it's been a pleasure, and it's still to this day a pleasure to work with him. Next is Dr. Brian Evans. He is a periodontist, and he practices with Dr. Barry Weiss up in Hamden, Connecticut. And actually, he was extremely kind enough to do a short interview with me about his just tremendous success for using this system. Um, I'll give it to you in just a minute, but actually, again, he was someone that I really worked with and really stressed the need um, to do some different things, the same things that Dr. Chung did in his practice. But he actually took it a step further, and he has actually created a niche within a niche in his practice. So, one of the books that I typically recommend people start off reading, two of them, both of them are from author Jack Trout, like the fish trout. The first one is called, and it's almost the gold standard of marketing books, Differentiate or Die by Jack Trout. And another one is about positioning. And and I talked to Dr. Evans about that second book, Positioning, because he was going back and forth with his partner about breaking into the market of, and I know you've heard of it, there's different terms, the teeth in an hour or the teeth in a day or all on four, all on five, there's a bunch of different names for it. And they were going back and forth, contemplating on it, and no one is really doing it. We're not sure it's going to work. So I talked to him a little bit about the book Positioning by Jack Trout and told him, I said, you know what? One of the big things he talks about is if you want to own and dominate a market, you need to position yourself in that particular market first. You need to be the first one. For instance, when I ask you what is the most popular soft drink in the world, what's your answer? Coke, right? Coca-Cola. Pretty much everyone knows that. How about who is the first person ever to walk on the moon? Neil Armstrong, right? Well, who's the second? You probably don't know. Who's the second biggest soft drink company besides Coke? Probably don't know that either. So if you can get to the mind of the consumers first by being the first one, it's really really special. And he took my advice. He partnered. They partnered with a prosthodontist, and now they're literally dominating their area and using some of the different marketing ideas that I've recommended in the past. So, all right, this next young lady that you see here, she also, Dr. Beth Tomlin, is a board certified periodontist. She practices in Dallas. Her situation starting out from residency was very similar to my situation. She had also had a deal fell through. She had to start from scratch and struggled a little bit early on because the Dallas market, as you can imagine, is a lot more competitive than some of the other areas in the country. But we're both in a mastermind, the North American Society of Periodontists, or the NASP. We're both in that group together. We meet once a year in January, and we talk about ideas. And again, some of the ideas that I've spoken about here today and spoken in the past, shared them with her, and she's doing tremendous now in Dallas. All three of these people informed me that if you want to get in touch with them, call them, ask them questions about, some of the different things that we've worked with them about, they'll be more than happy to discuss that with you. All right, moving right along. So now we're going to focus on that new patient first appointment show up rate and case acceptance rate now. But I want to quickly go over all the possible ways that you can increase your specialist practice. Now, of all the things you can do, there's also things that you can decrease, like your overhead, your debt, your expenses, etc. But today, let's talk in terms of increasing, because you can increase more than you can decrease. So I've listed here some of the different things that we can do to help increase our practice. We can increase the number of referrals from our current patients. We can not only increase the number of our referring doctors out there, we can get out, we can network, etc., but we can also increase the number of referrals from our doctors as well. We certainly can increase the volume and effectiveness of our advertising, whether we're doing online, offline, direct mail, internal marketing, external marketing, etc. We can increase the number of the different services that you offer. Go into different courses, seminars, learning about the newest techniques, newest technology. That's certainly easy to do, and that's probably one of the things that we're most familiar with. We can increase the show up rate from our patients. We can also increase the percentage of patients that say yes to our recommended treatment, also known as case acceptance. And last but not least, we can certainly increase the size of the case, and especially now, if you're a periodontist, oral surgeon, or a prosthodontist viewing this webinar, with the popularity of dental implants, that is extremely easy to do. So all of those are great, but we're going to focus on these three that you see here at the bottom. So increasing the patient show-up rate, case acceptance rate, and increasing the size of the case. Now we can think of these in terms of income killers. So here are the three income killers and how we're going to get rid of them once and for all. So when a patient cancels with you or no-shows, that's both time and money that's lost forever. Maybe if you're extremely busy practice or you're in a busy time of year, it's a bit of a relief. So you can continue what you're doing or do something else instead, but the hit to your income when someone no-shows or cancels is real, and a lot of times it's unrecoverable. It's typically very, very difficult to get a patient to reschedule with you if they no-show on you on the very first appointment. Wouldn't you agree? So in just a few slides, we're going to examine why a patient who has agreed to show up with you doesn't, and answer the question, how can we handle it when it does happen to us? So this next income killer is devastating. You've got the patient to show up, they're there, they're in your chair, you give them the recommended treatment, you spent all the time and effort with them, maybe planning the case, hours and hours, and then you get zero to show for it. Zero. So this income killer is even worse than income killer number one, isn't it? Has this happened to you recently? Maybe even this week? Maybe even today? How much was lost? Now, there are a bunch of reasons why a patient doesn't accept care, and it could be because maybe your team has poor customer service, possibly lack of building a trusting relationship before the patient comes to the office. Maybe you don't have flexible financial options, such as interest-free financing, or in-house financing. Also, no differentiation sometimes is noted between your office and the others that your patients have visited. Thus, you have commoditized yourself and your practice. Of course, not all of these can be overcome, but in my opinion, you don't need to overcome all of them to get a huge boost. Let's do a little bit of math on this. Let's say, the average specialist out there in the average town is collecting, and I've worked with several different clients, and I would say the average anywhere from, let's say, collecting $50,000 to $60,000 a month. This could be you. This could be you could be collecting a lot more. You could be collecting a lot less. But for this particular example, let's look at someone, a specialist, a dentist, whatever, that's collecting between $50,000 to $60,000 a month. Okay, with only a mere 15% a month increase in case acceptance for someone that out there that's collecting between $50,000 to $60,000 per month, that means an extra $7,500 to $9,000 a month. How did I get that? Well, I simply took $50,000 multiplied by 15%, that's $7,500, or $60,000 multiplied by 15%, it's $9,000. So for this example, let's kind of go in the middle and let's use $8,000. So a 15% increase in case acceptance is going to boost this practice an extra $8,000 a month. Okay, so that's an extra $48,000 in the first 6 months. That's an increase of roughly $96,000 in the first 12 months. Look at that over a 5-year period, you're looking at close to $500,000. And if you extend it out to the 10-year period, only increasing what you're doing now, not increasing your collections or production, that's an extra $960,000 over a 10-year period. Pretty phenomenal, right? Remember, this goes straight to your bottom line, straight in your pocket, because you're just leveraging the opportunity that's already there. Okay, this next one is a bit tricky. Now, a lot of docs out there, they'll feel a victory of sorts on this one. So a patient comes in, they aren't entirely convinced of the need that you recommend for them. So they either opt maybe for the most basic care or maybe for a part of the treatment plan. Here's an example. Someone comes in and you recommend upper and lower implant supported dentures. You recommend 4 implants on the top and 4 implants on the bottom to secure a denture. That would be a very nice and profitable case, right? So let's say you go through the options and this patient elects to do a lower implant supported denture only with 2 implants. Now, again, if this is your situation, and a lot of docs out there, they're going to feel like, hey, at least I got them to schedule for 2 implants. 2's better than nothing, right? At least we got something. But until you start adding up the numbers, $2,000 less on this case, $4,000 less on this case, $1,200 less on this one, it really adds up over a year's time. And in many cases, not all, but in many cases, it's very avoidable. So how much are all 3 costing you? Now you can probably guesstimate this. And in my experience, almost every doc severely underestimates just how much they're losing to these 3 income killers we just discussed. So think about the numbers that we just went over just a few minutes ago. So think about what you could do with an extra $96,000 this year. You have some debts that you need to pay off. How would you like to throw an extra $100,000 at your mortgage? How about buying some things for your spouse or your family? Family vacation, anyone? So again, think back at your definition of success that you wrote down when we earlier when we just started this presentation, and how that extra $96,000 could accelerate that and make it real for you. But this isn't just a 1 year only opportunity, because once you have the solution, this is going to work and work and work, and it continues to work. Remember, this played out, that 15% increase played out over 5 years. You're looking at almost $500,000. Again, expand that to 10 years, because this solution will continue working even 10 years from now, and you've made an extra $960,000 from this. So how would you attempt to solve these 3 income killers? I want you to think about that for a moment. And you've got your workbook down in front of you. So I want you to write down a few answers how you could attempt to solve the three income killers. Remember, the first one was your patient no-shows. What are some of the things that you could do to attempt to solve the no-shows? Remember, number 2 was the patient doesn't accept treatment at all. What do you think some things that you could do to help that? And the third, the patient only accepts part of your treatment recommendation or just basic treatment only. Again, I'll give you 20, 30 seconds just to jot down some ideas real quick. Now, as you're doing that, I'm going to give you a few typical responses that I've gotten in the past. We can get better at presenting the recommendations that we've given our patients. Maybe with better technology, or maybe some different types of way that sometimes you'll hear people close the sale better. We can train our team so when people do come in and they give you the dreaded, let me go home and think about it, or I need to talk to my spouse, or let me go check my work schedule, and then they never show back up, right? Maybe you can teach your team how to follow up better on those people to try to get them back in. And then you can also make a change in the different types of advertising that you're doing to help find patients out there with more money. Who wouldn't want that? Okay, so some of these are okay. Some might get you a little increase here or there, but they don't get to the real root of the issue. So are you ready to know how we can remedy this situation? What if I told you these 3 income killers exist all for the same reason, and they all had the same basic solution? Drum roll, please. Here it is. Fear of the unknown and lack of trust. Sounds so simple, doesn't it? So we need to overcome both of these factors, and we should, as a result, see a drastic reduction in the 3 income killers. And the good news is they are both very intimately related. So now we're going to discuss how we overcome fear of the unknown. Now, as docs, and myself included, we forget sometimes how intimidating going to a dental appointment can be for someone. As I talked about a little bit earlier, my mentor, marketing mentor, still my mentor today, Dan Kennedy, wrote a fantastic book on marketing specifically to the largest growing section of our population, that's the baby boomers. And to sum up that entire book, probably one of the most important things that he talked about that baby boomers do not like, and that is surprises. they do not like to be surprised. They like to know what to expect before they go anywhere new, and they like to know step by step. Again, I'm a huge Disney fan, and they are such smart marketers. And one of the things that they did, because now they've gotten so much more adults that are going to Disney without even bringing their kids and grandkids. It's the #1 honeymoon destination in the world, Walt Disney World. So one of the things that they did to overcome any surprises that they give to baby boomers is this. The Magical Express bus takes people from the airport to the Disney resorts. There are TVs on those buses. Years and years ago, the only thing that they used to show on those TVs were cartoons, basically to entertain the kids because they're so excited going to Walt Disney World. But now I've seen a change in what they're doing. Instead of just showing cartoons the entire trip to your Walt Disney World resort, now they're starting to show people exactly what to expect that's going to happen when you get to your resort. Because if you've been to Disney before, you know it can be quite overwhelming the first time. I mean, you have to be an expert planner, planning your meals, planning your fast passes for your rides, picking out your rides, all that kind of stuff. So they walk you through in those videos exactly what to expect. The different shows and tickets that you can buy. Now you can purchase merchandise at the parks and you don't have to carry them around all day. You can have them either sent back to your room or you can have them shipped back to your house. So again, they're letting people know everything up front because they know baby boomers do not like surprises. Now let's get back to our new patient example. You've got a new patient out there and maybe they're in a little bit of pain, but it's manageable. They're a bit worried, of course, about their marriage or their job or whatever. They have busy lives. And it's very easy to ignore this problem, this little nagging, annoying pain that they may have somewhere. Now, all that adds up to making it easier and easier to just go by without coming in and making that dental appointment, right? Because they don't know you from Adam. They're definitely unsure of what's going to happen to them. And as you know, normal life has to be taken care of. It's just easier to avoid going into your office, going into that appointment, than facing the day-to-day stresses that we have. So that's the first barrier that our patients encounter. Being unknown along with all of the stress of their normal daily lives, it all adds up to just becoming easier to delay. And then what you have is a no-show or a cancellation that happens. They get embarrassed about it. They feel bad that they canceled. They feel bad that they just didn't show up without calling. And as you know, and as your team knows, it's literally impossible to get them to come back in. This is leading to a solution, right? So you have to erase that unknown factor so that fear doesn't cause so much resistance. So when it's added to their normal, stressful lives, it equals don't go. So here now is the very first part of the solution. You have to give them a complete picture of you, not only as being their dental specialist, but of you as a human being. Let that sink in for a minute. You need to go from some name with a bunch of letters after it that most people don't even know what they stand for or mean, to a real live three-dimensional human being with a family, with interest, with hobbies, and who can help them along the way. We need to erase the unknown. But that alone wouldn't be enough. It'll set a lot of people at ease, get them to show up. Those who were going to show up anyway, they will still show up and they'll be a lot more comfortable with it. But you still have to get them to accept the best recommendation that you have for them to help them solve their dental issues and to accept it wholeheartedly. You have to create a vast amount of deep trust very quickly. Now, we're not talking about trusting you to watch their children or to handle their finances, not that kind of trust. This is a very specific type of trust that we're talking about. It's, does this guy really know what he's doing? Does he really know what he's talking about? Am I dealing with just an average specialist, average dentist here, or one who really knows his stuff? How do we get that and get it fast? We don't have time, and they wouldn't even understand if we tried to prove we were the best type of specialist, right? How about this? Let me give you a shortcut. In nearly every human being's mind out there, there's this simple equation. Authority equals trust. Look at that word authority. If you're considered an authority on something, some topic, some service, people trust you implicitly. It's strange, but it's true. Being a specialist doesn't really count. All of your competitors have that type of training too, right? Or they're trying to do the type of procedures that you're doing. That's really just the price of admission in this case. Now, we also have to compete with the larger number of general dentists that are also doing specialist-based procedures by placing implants. Maybe they're doing 6-month smiles, offering Invisalign, wisdom teeth removal, etc. We have to go way above and beyond. Now, this is the key to higher case acceptance. You're the authority, above and beyond any other specialist or dentist they've heard of out there. So think about Dr. Oz for a minute, and then think of maybe Dr. Smith in Podunk, Nebraska. Who has the better shot of getting someone to accept something? All my money is going to be bet on Dr. Oz. But is Dr. Oz a better doctor? Who knows? Is he considered more of an authority? Absolutely. Here's how you can erase the unknownness and establish authority. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Once I discovered these two factors, I knew I needed to tackle them and do it very thoroughly. And there's one thing which tackles both very thoroughly and completely. Here it is. As I spoke about a little bit earlier, I wrote a book. I authored a book. So what you're looking at in this picture is actually the newer version of one of my books. And as our practice continues to change, I thought it's best to update our book in the process. Now, before you get worried about this, let me tell you, I'm not recommending that you go to have to take 6 months off and you lug a typewriter up to a secluded cabin to write a book. I've got it extremely streamlined now, and it will, believe it or not, take only a few hours of your time, and that's with someone holding your hand and guiding you through, and they will do all of the writing simply based on your conversations with them. By the way, this is how just about every single celebrity out there get their books written. Very, very few of them actually sit down and write it. They have what they call a ghostwriter interview them, ask them a bunch of questions, and get them talking. The ghostwriter then forms all of that information into a book, which the celebrity reviews and improves. Here's a picture of a good friend of mine from the hit show Duck Dynasty, Mountain Man. And Mountain Man recently released a book called Mountain Man, Keeping a Slow Profile. So Mountain Man and I went hunting this past year, and he was telling me a little bit about the practice, a little bit about the book. And if you've watched Duck Down to Sea before, or if you know how he talks very slow. So I said, Mountain Man, congratulations, you've got your book now, you've got it online, you've got it in stores, Barnes& Noble, Amazon, christianbook.com, all these other sources. Tell me a little bit about the process. I mean, how long did it take you, to sit down, to write the book, to come up with the ideas? And he said something like, well, Jeff, I don't know how to write very good. Some people called me and asked me some questions, and the next thing you know, the book showed up in my mail. That's it. That's all it is to it. Simply said from Mountain Man. So imagine this. You're a patient. You've set up an appointment. You don't know me from Adam, but you get this huge package in the mail, and inside that package, among other things, which I'm going to go over just a little bit later, there's a book, and it's actually written by me, the doctor. This book introduces me. It's going to give facts about the care you're going to get, potentially. It's going to ease your mind. It makes you feel comfortable. It demystifies this whole process. I'm no longer an unknown. My practice is no longer an unknown. Do you think that's going to change your mind about this whole process? You bet it is. Now, it kind of feels like you know me. It's a bit harder to just cancel or skip that appointment, isn't it? When I first put this principle into practice, it cut my cancellation no-show rate by 15 to 20% right off the bat. A few things I added to that initial practice dropped it even more. We'll cover those in just a little bit. Most people don't actually read the book cover to cover. It's not what I'm asking them to do at all, but they'll skim parts of it. They see my name on it. They'll tell me that, hey, you know what? I didn't have time to read your whole book, but when I was at home, I flipped through it, or I was out in your waiting room and I looked through your books that you have out there. So that's all I'm asking them to do. Just get familiar with it. That book will build your authority, your credibility, and create that deep trust fast that we just talked about. Do you think that would have an impact on how likely those patients are to accept your best recommendation of care? Yes, it absolutely does. I noticed a 15 to 20% increase from the get-go. Further, there were less people trying to bargain or just do part of the recommended treatment that I was giving them. Got that? A book alone will create massive improvements, but I learned over time and by experience that there needed to be a little bit more than just a book. I was getting a lot of questions about my office, about me, about my staff, my background, about the different procedures that I do. So as soon as I noticed a pattern in my interactions with patients, I thought I thought about what it would take to ease their mind and handle all of this before they even came in for their appointment. What it yielded was what I call my new patient case acceptance system, which you see pictured here on the screen. I send this package out to all of our new patients to review before coming in. I'll let you in on another little secret that we recently started doing. People that call the office, ask for information. Let's say they call the office and maybe ask your office, do you do a particular type of procedure, or how much does it cost? Do you take my insurance? A lot of times what happens, that patient may get off the phone, hang up, no contact information, nothing is gained from that call. You've lost a patient. And as you know, it costs a lot of money these days just to acquire a new patient. So something else that we're using this package for now is before we let them off the phone, we're simply asking for their contact information so we can send them a huge package in the mail to let them know all the information that they're asking for, answer all the questions that they're asking for, and more. So think about this. You've got this person calling around, dentist to dentist, specialist to specialist. Then you've got this one out of the blue that sends you something like this in the mail. What type of patient do you think this is going to attract to your practice? Do you think this is going to be a differentiator, like that book that we talked about earlier about Jack Trout, Differentiate or Die? I'll let you make the call on that. So again, this is what I send out to all my new patients to review before coming in. So let me tell you a little bit about this system. It's going to build authority, that credibility and trust, because we want people to know, like, and trust us before they come into the office. Again, this is going to make a patient feel like they've known me for years. It's going to get them acquainted and get to know my staff. It gets to see their picture. They know that Alice that's going to greet them loves dogs, loves puppies. A lot of times patients will connect with her on that. They know that one of the dental assistants, Donna, loves horses, loves animals. They know that Ashley loves outdoors. She loves bow hunting. So there's things that people, they're going to relate to these people, relate to your team, relate to my staff, is just regular people. Again, this system helps answer all the frequently asked questions that a lot of our patients have, and I'm sure a lot of your patients have as well. It gets them to simply hear my voice, not only on some of the things that we send to them that they can play in their CD player, but also on a video format, a DVD. And it's also going to show several patients' success stories, reviews, testimonials that we've helped just like them. Now, I'm going to give you the full breakdown of exactly what's in this package that we send out today. Again, it's an ever-changing thing. So if we ever update it, which we usually do, we also include that into your package. And I'm going to discuss what it handles and the how and the why of it. We already went over the book that I authored, but I'll just reiterate a bit. Nothing says competence and authority like you having your own book. In fact, author comes from the word authority. There are two ways to get your own book. Again, take your typewriter, lock yourself in a cabin in the woods, sweat and slave over blank page after blank page until you finally have one. Or you can simply let my team interview you using our special process and write it for you while you're staying busy earning money that you know that you can do right there in your practice. We'll also get your book online for you too and make sure it has a fantastic cover. The patients that you have right now, they want quality information about what is going to happen to them, but they want it in plain English, not doctor speak. For this, I send them a newspaper-like informative article and a radio-style interview, which is professionally labeled, edited, and placed on an audio CD that they can listen to at their leisure. Both of these items help them understand what's going to happen. Again, position me and my practice as a trusted authority, and also lets them to get to know me, hear my voice, so I'm not just a stranger. A couple months ago, we had a lady come in. I walk into the consultation room. The first thing that she says, and she kind of scared me, there he is. I've seen you before on TV. And I looked around to make sure that she was talking about me, or was there somebody standing behind me that was a movie star or celebrity. And after I started talking to her, what she was referring to was some of the different things that we've sent her, some of the videos that we sent her in the package. So think about that. Think about walking in to a room, your patient is happy to see you, they think of you as a celebrity. What do you think when you recommend treatment to that person? What do you think their mindset is coming from versus you walking in, the patient doesn't know you from Adam, they're already white knuckling the chair, they don't know what to expect, they don't know anything about you, your staff, what you do, and then you're having to sit there and try to explain to them what you do every single day. I'm telling you folks, this has completely been a game changer to our practice. Now, third, what we also include, your patients, they're going to want their questions answered, their frequently asked questions. Now, you no doubt have some idea of the questions that your patients now and in the past ask you and your staff over and over and over again. Why burden them with all these unanswered questions from the get-go? We simply send our patients a list of the frequently asked questions so they no longer have to worry. They'll feel immediate relief when they get these answers, just like the Disney example that I gave you earlier. The reduction of this pre-appointment anxiety will knock down your no-show and cancellation rates too. Something else that it's going to do, it's going to dramatically decrease your new patient consultation times. I've seen my own personal doctor time with a new patient go from about 50 to 60 minutes on the high end now to now average 20 to 30 minutes. Huge reduction in time. Something else that we send them, patients love to know people similar to them also got great results and were happy with the service. We send along several pages of testimonials, patient testimonials, and reviews for them to read. As I discussed a little bit earlier, our patients like to feel comfortable, and your patients as well, with the people and the office that they're going to be seeing and have some idea what things were going to be like before arriving for their appointment. To handle this, we send out a special welcome to our office video for them to watch pre-appointment. So that's it. That's the full package. Each piece serves an exact purpose and helps alleviate that fear of the unknown and builds authority, credibility, and trust so the patient shows up in the best possible frame of mind and is really primed to accept my recommendation. Every other doc in your area is doing almost nothing, I mean nothing, to answer their new patients' most pressing questions, to alleviate their fears, and to make them feel truly welcome before they even walk in the door. It's really a shame, isn't it? But it's a huge opportunity for you. As I said earlier, this has been the biggest game changer, bar none, to my practice. And it means, again, I spend a lot less time and effort trying to convince patients to do what's best for them. Because of this, I get to live my definition of success. Now, I know it might seem overwhelming for you, for your team, to have to put all of something like this together. And to be honest with you, it was. It took me a lot of time. It took me years and years to perfect this, and experimentation and tons of money, and frankly screw ups as well, trying to get this whole process right. Not only this, but also training the team what to say, how to say it, what to do with it, leveraging it, etc. But when I did finally get it right, it paid off and still continues to pay off to this day big time. So you don't have to do this all by yourself though. Once my practice really started taking off in the beginning, after we started doing this, I started getting a lot of questions from other specialists at meetings and some of the ones that I know of about exactly what we were doing. And shockingly, what I found out was most businesses, companies, consultants, whatever, that are offering this to the dentists and specialists out there, they're actually charging now, and this it used to be less than this, but now average anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 just to create a book for them only. So this is probably one of the main reasons that I really got involved in this because again, I've got this whole process streamlined and I really and truly enjoy coaching people through this. So what I've done for you and what I'm going to offer today is an invitation, but my time between my practice and my family and my hobbies is very limited. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to take 20 or 30 or 40 people a month and just, throw people into this. I like to stand by my work and I like to do what I like to do in a certain process, feel good about myself, provide value for people, and I like to spend a lot more one-on-one time with people. So I'm typically now limiting myself between 5 to 7 specialists a month that I'm currently now working with doing this. I'm kind of backlog a little bit, but for now, that's all I'm taking for now because I want to make this the best experience, the best possible thing. Because not only do you put this package together, there's also a lot more that goes involved in this as well. So again, I've made myself available to help you. I'll help you put this whole thing together using all the different contacts that I have. I put together a team of vendors, my expertise, and leveraging a lot of the work that I've already done. I'll also not only coach you, but especially your team in using it properly so it's going to have the absolute maximum impact. So if you're interested in discussing this further, simply the way to do this, the next step is to schedule a time for us to talk about it. Again, most companies out there are charging anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 just to author the book itself. And what I've done, I've taken my whole package, everything that you've seen, the book, the DVD, the CD, the newspaper advertorial, other different forms, and it's customized for each practice for less than half of what the companies now are charging just to author a book. So the next step for those of you that are interested into setting up a time to talk about number one, is this the right fit for your practice? And number two, if you're ready, getting you on the books to get you started. Again, it may take a little bit more time because of the backlog. On the screen, you see the 3 ways, the best ways to set up time for us to talk. And I've actually placed them in order of how we typically answer requests. The quickest way are the first 2. Either fax your request for an appointment, put in their attention case acceptance system interview, fax it to 318-998-2503, or you can call our office and ask the team to schedule an interview. I do these at certain times and certain days of the week, and they can let you know the schedule. And we check the team checks the email maybe once or twice a week. So again, if you're in a hurry to do this and get on the books, I encourage you to either fax 318-998-2503 or call 318-998-3027. Or if you would rather email, again, that's the slowest way of response. But again, we have the email address there on the screen, anzalonemarketing@gmail.com. It's been a truly an honor to be here with you today. Um, my goal was to keep this about an hour. I've gone over just a little bit, but I've gotten everything that I wanted to discuss with you. And I want to thank you for attending. And I hope this information and the materials that I've shown you have been both enlightening and helpful to you. Take care. Again, anything that you need, any other questions about this, or any other type of aspect, marketing or systems that you want to discuss with your specialist practice, you have the 3 ways right there to contact us. Take care. Now that you have this information, I want to share the full interview I did with Dr. Evans. You'll see how putting all of these things in play really transform your practice. Here it is for you now.
Hey guys, I've got a special guest with us today. It's not only a client of mine, but it's also a good friend of mine, Dr. Brian Evans, who's a board-certified periodontist up in the Northeast, up in Connecticut. So, Dr. Evans, thank you so much for spending a little time with us today.
Well, Dr. Anzon, I really appreciate getting the chance to talk to you today and maybe help some of your listeners out there understand what your program's all about and how it's helped our practice.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I get either emails or calls on a weekly basis about the case acceptance system and how it works and how it's worked with my practice and how it's worked with other practices. And most of the time, and I'm the same type of person, I want proof. I want to hear from other people. I want phone calls, people to call, et cetera. And I really appreciate you being nice enough to share your experience with us because, I think this is going to shed the light, so to speak, on a lot of the questions out there. So, again, thank you a lot for being here with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, we all in dentistry, there's many consultants out there that, try to help our practices both internally and externally with marketing and all. And, you hear a lot about new patients. It's all about getting in new patients. And my feeling is, yes, you got to have new patients and the numbers. But like you touched on, case acceptance is everything. And our practice is definitely a testament to you don't have to have a tremendous amount of numbers in new patients if you can get a high acceptance rate. And our practice, before we started, implementing some of these trust-based building ideas that, I can share specifics here in a little bit, but before that implementation, we had a decent acceptance rate, and we're a periodontal practice of 2, and our average new patient flow was around 40 new patients, and that's not many for 2 people. And what I found was we were still doing okay, but we wanted to do better, and that's where we started implementing some of these trust-based concepts that your program has to offer.
So, Dr. Evans, for those people that are listening to this, tell them a little bit about yourself, your practice, about what type of dentistry that you practice, and then we'll answer a couple of commonly asked questions that I hear. So give us a little bit of background information, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, I'm a periodontist, board-certified periodontist, and I have a partner who is also a board-certified periodontist. We both trained at LSU School of Dentistry for our residencies, and I actually went to undergrad at LSU. Following residency, I actually served on active duty in the United States Navy as a periodontist for 3 years before entering private practice in the summer of 2007, where I actually joined my existing partner, Dr. Weiss, who was, as I mentioned, in residency with me down at LSU. And when I joined our practice, new into private practice, I wasn't really sure what was good, what was bad, in terms of production numbers and new patient numbers and all those things. I was just getting my feet wet into all that. And I knew that it had been a practice in the Hamden, Connecticut area that was established. It was actually started by my partner's former partner approximately 20 plus years ago. And when I joined, now looking back on it, I realized we had about a 1.5 person practice, meaning, it was really a one-person practice with about enough business for another periodontist on a part-time basis. And that's where I think I reflected just earlier about, we had about 40 new patients a month. So that's 2007 that started. And, also now looking back, we as a practice, we figured out pretty quickly that we needed some internal systems corrected if we planned on growing and building. So we actually brought in someone to help us from an internal systems perspective. We had no recall as a periodontal patient practice. As you probably know, recall in a periodontal practice is huge. We were just seeing patients. We would present treatment. We'd really basically, the financial discussion was done in, open space out front with some of our staff members. And sometimes the patient would say yes, and sometimes they would say no, and they'd walk out the door. Those that said no didn't schedule, and there was no system to follow them up. So I don't care how many, new patients you see, if you don't have a system in place to sort of capture those patients, if they don't schedule that first visit, you're gonna sink. So we realized, again, after sort of collaborating with some of our colleagues, periodontal colleagues, we realized that was a big flaw and a weakness in our practice that we needed to look into more. So that's, go ahead.
Excellent. That you kind of answered my first question. What first interested you in, using this case acceptance system? And it's just as you said, you were getting in enough patients, but maybe not all of them or the majority of them were telling you yes to the treatment, right?
Correct.
Were you at any time skeptical at all that, sending out this big package and having book in it and booklets and all the kind of stuff that we've put in there, were you at any time skeptical a little bit that it would work?
Well, absolutely. I mean, anything new or change, people tend to be reluctant to start it. And, I'm no different in that. And you start to wonder, is this going to be worth the time to put together what we call the shock and awe package? That's the things that we now include in our new patient welcome packet that they get before they even come into us. It's, it was a lot of work initially to put together. We have a pamphlet book with basically just a lot of before and after pictures that simply describe who we are, what we are about, the services that we provide. That took some time to get together. The other aspects of writing a book, that writing a book is something that, you talk to someone who's written one, and before has written one, and the first thing you think of is, that's going to be way too much work. I don't know the first thing about doing it or how to get started. But I tell you, that's been a huge addition to our practice. Writing a book and publishing it instantly makes you an expert in whatever you do, and we found that out very quickly. And we certainly include that in our new patient welcome package. So you can imagine if you're a patient who made or was referred to an office for some type of service, and you call up and you make the appointment, and you've got a week or two before you come in to see them, and in the mail you receive a pamphlet that has a lot of detailed information about services you provide, before and after pictures, and then you receive a book that provider has authored. I tell you, that patient instantly has some confidence that they're going to be in good hands because you're perceived as an expert. So having that patient with that mindset before they even step foot in your door is huge for case acceptance. Huge. But back to your question on, was I skeptical about it? Absolutely, because again, nobody likes change, and if you're doing it on your own, yes, it is a lot of hard work, but that's where your help really made it a lot easier for us.
It was funny, before the call, you do a great job with public implant seminars in your area, and you're the first one, you and your partner, and y'all are you're killing it. And you had emailed me a picture of the invitation that you're going to put in the newspaper and other media as well, and we're just asking some advice about, should we make any changes or anything like that. And when you just mentioned the book, that was, as you recall, that was one of the changes that I'd recommended you put in there. Come spend an evening with the author. There's one differentiator right there, and then also offering that, for the first so many people that call, get a copy of Dr. Evans' book. So that's just one of hundreds of ways you can leverage a book and be as a differentiator in your area. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most, probably for us at least, that has been the biggest positive impact on our case acceptance improvement.
Excellent. How is your quality of life and practice today compare to maybe before you started using all of these ideas that we've talked about and you've implemented into your practice?
Well, certainly with more case acceptance, you're gonna do better in terms of your goals and production and your return on your investment with the approach. Really, just kind of gives you the opportunity to move in a direction in the practice that we personally wanted to, and we wanted to have a debt-free practice, and we have that now. And so that gives us more freedom to, seek out more ideas and things that can help us grow even much more. We've consistently, over the last, I guess since 2009, we've seen a 5 to 7% growth each year in our numbers. And I think in the last 2 years, we've actually seen a significant spike in our new patient flow. So we're at 80 new patients per month. So we've doubled our new patient flow in about 5 years.
Wow.
And I think we went back to our initial conversation. Numbers aren't everything, because, hey, if we have 40 new patients a month and we can get 35 of those 40 accept treatment, you're going to be doing just as well if you have 80 new patients a month and you get 35 accept treatment.
Exactly.
So, again, case acceptance is definitely a big part of, growing your practice and staying consistent. But if you can combine that and get an increase in new patient numbers, you're well on your way to, really enjoying practice. And if you want to be debt-free, you can do that. Just gives you more freedom to do things in the practice that otherwise, if you were stressed about paying bills and just trying to get your practice built up. So I'd say it's a lot less stress now. We're having fun with what we're doing. As you mentioned, we're starting to do some direct seminars, direct marketing to the public for implant seminars. That's really going well. So things are good. And, the things that we've learned from you are, things that we can take with us forever and implement them in so many different ways. So we really appreciate your help.
Oh, it's my pleasure. That's one of the things that I'm really enjoying doing, and I'm spending more and more time sort of transitioning out of the clinical side to do this, because it's so rewarding when you can help a lot more doctors, than really patients, just one person. So I'm really enjoying it. But I've got one more question for you, and
Sure.
Everyone on the line knows Dr. Yeah, but. You know, there's plenty of yeah, but out there. So
Definitely.
what would you say to a doctor, yeah, but, who's on the fence about possibly considering applying this type of package, these type of ideas into their practice? What would you say to them if they're kind of wishy-washy, and any final words on that?
Yeah. Well, I'd simply just say you got to give it a try. I mean, you have nothing to lose. I mean, I've known you for quite a while now. You know, you're a very stand-up guy. You stand by what you teach, and I can tell you for sure if you have an issue or a concern with the program and it's not going the way that you want it to, Dr. Anzalone is going to address any problems and issues, and he's going to treat you fairly, and he's going to, as he mentioned, he wants to see you do well. That's part of why he's doing this. Certainly he's doing it to make a living and grow his marketing aspect of things. But as far as I can say, it's been one of the best things that our practice has implemented, these skills that we've learned. So I'd highly recommend it.
Well, again, Dr. Evans, thank you so much for spending your day off with us. I know you've got things to do. You've got, little kids, and you've got to get on your boat and fish and do all the fun things that us people try to aspire to be for.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, thanks for including me in your call. And again, if anybody out there has any questions that they'd like to directly speak with me about regarding the program, I'd be happy to speak with them also.
Yeah, and you guys probably can, look at his practice a little bit. His website is Hamden Perio, right? HAMDEN.
Yes.
HamdenPerio.com. Take a look at that, and see some of the things that he's doing. So again, thanks so much for taking the call with me, and I will speak with you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.